There are moments in marriage when everything shifts, but the room stays silent. No slammed doors. No shouting. Just the quiet, surgical cut of trust breaking. I found the letter on a Wednesday. That detail still sticks with me. It was raining, one of those soft, lingering rains that made the house feel like a sealed box. I was looking for a spare charger in her nightstand, not even thinking. But instead, I found it. A handwritten letter folded once, the edges worn like it had been read too many times. I shouldn't have read it, but I did. I sat on the edge of the bed with her words trembling in my hands. It wasn't addressed to me. It wasn't even meant for me. It was to someone named Daniel. She wrote, "I know I shouldn't feel what I feel. But when you said you saw me, not just as a student, but as a person, it opened something I didn't realize was locked." Daniel, her instructor. One of the senior faculty at the institute she'd spent a year at for her advanced therapy certification. A year I funded. A year I carried us through, alone, so she could chase the dream she'd nearly given up on. She wrote more. "I don't know if it's love. It doesn't feel like that. It feels like debt. Like I owe you for reminding me who I am. And that kind of debt is heavier than any ring." I kept rereading that line until the words blurred. That kind of debt is heavier than any ring. The bed was still warm from the night before. I could smell her shampoo on the pillow. The same woman who kissed me every morning, who sent me tired photos of lecture halls and cafeteria food, who told me she missed me like crazy. She'd been writing this instead. I didn't move. I didn't cry. I just sat there, letter in hand, like a man discovering he's been living in someone else's house. I thought back to the moment she told me about the training program. Her hands shaking with excitement, eyes shining like they hadn't in years. "I need this," she'd said. "I feel like I'm fading, like I'm just going through the motions here. It's a way back." And I believed her. I wanted her to be whole again. We weren't broken, but we were tired. I figured this could be the start of something new. A reboot. So I made it happen. Took on more hours, dipped into my savings, paid the tuition before she even packed. She left in August. Said it'd just be 10 months. She came back in June. Said she felt renewed. But I see it now. What she really meant was, she didn't come back. The woman who returned looked the same. She smiled the same. But something behind her eyes had gone dark, like a painting that's been washed too many times. She touched me less. Spoke like I was always halfway out of the room. I thought maybe it was just post-study burnout, that she needed time to readjust. But it wasn't that. It was Daniel, a man who reminded her she had value, a man who made her feel seen, a man who, apparently, became more than me. I put the letter back in the drawer, left it like it burned. That night, I cooked dinner like usual. She asked about my day while sipping her wine. I asked about a new client she was taking on. Neither of us mentioned the fire quietly spreading in the walls. I thought I'd confront her right then, but I didn't. I needed to be sure. I needed to see it all before I tore it apart. And I was right to wait. Because the next morning, while she was in the shower, I opened her laptop. And what I found made the letter look like a thank you note. Midpoint engagement line. For part 3 teaser, she said it wasn't cheating, it was repayment. But all I could think was, how many times did she think she owed him? Thumbnail concept. A man in a dark room lit only by the cold glow of a laptop screen. Reflected in his eyes is the image of a woman embracing another man, her face soft, his unreadable. The title burns like an accusation. She owed him more than me. Video description. She said it wasn't passion. It wasn't love. It was gratitude. But she gave him what she never gave me. I paid for her dream, and she paid him with her body. Now I know what she really meant when she said, "Thank you." This is the story of how I funded my own betrayal. It was the coffee that broke me, not the letter, not the messages I'd read after hacking into her inbox, not the photos of her and Daniel at some faculty party, his hand low on her back, her eyes turned up toward him like he was telling her who she was. It was Tuesday morning. She'd just gotten out of the shower, still damp, hair wrapped in a towel, humming something under her breath. She poured herself a mug, and then she poured one for me. Set it on the counter, the same way she had 100 times before. Black. No sugar. No milk. But I hadn't taken it that way in years. She used to tease me about that. Said it was proof I was finally letting myself be soft. That maybe the years were rubbing my edges down. It had become a quiet ritual, her handing me the mug, her pinky brushing mine, the sweet smell of the creamer she always added just for me. Except now, she didn't remember. That's what made me want to scream. Not the betrayal itself, but the realization that I wasn't even worth remembering correctly anymore. She left for work without noticing my silence. I watched her pull on her coat, kiss my cheek out of habit, and grab her keys from the bowl. She paused at the door, looking over her shoulder. "You're quiet," she said. "Just tired." She nodded, like that was enough. And maybe it was for her. After she left, I opened her laptop again. I'd already gone through her emails, but this time I checked her downloads folder. Old habit from my tech job. That's where the real mess always hides. And there it was. A scanned letter of recommendation. Daniel's signature at the bottom. Type praise that read more like poetry than professional endorsement. Her instincts are remarkable. But what stands out most is her capacity for emotional risk, the kind few people truly cultivate. Emotional risk. What a sanitized way of saying she was mine and let herself be yours. There was more, long email threads that started formally and slid into something looser, more personal. She asked about books he'd recommended. He replied with philosophical tangents about desire and truth and the burden of being truly seen. She replied with paragraphs. I read them all. She never wrote to me that way, not even at our best. I got bullet points. Grocery lists. Don't forget the dry cleaning. Daniel got intimacy in literary form. I don't remember closing the laptop. Don't remember eating that day either. I sat on the couch staring at the framed picture of us from our 5th anniversary, her head on my shoulder, my arm around her waist, a lake behind us so still it looked like glass. That was before the training, before she started calling me her constant. I thought it was a compliment. Now I hear the way she said it, like I was a flatline. I waited 2 more days before I confronted her. Not because I was afraid, because I wanted to see if she'd say it herself. Because part of me, some pathetic, dying part, still believed maybe she'd come clean. Maybe she'd say, something happened. I want to talk. But she didn't. She came home on Thursday wearing a new blouse. One I didn't recognize. One that cost more than we usually spend. I asked about it. She smiled. Daniel sent it. A thank you gift. Said I helped him with a difficult group exercise. She said it casually. Like it wasn't strange. Like married women regularly accepted clothing from older men who once graded their papers. That's not normal, I said. She froze. Just for a moment. Then blinked, head tilting slightly. Are you jealous? She asked, tone light, but probing. No. I'm wondering why a married woman is accepting gifts from a man who signed a recommendation letter. She stared at me then. Really looked. First with confusion, then something else, something I hadn't seen in a while. Calculation. Is this about the emails? She asked quietly. My silence was her answer. She sat down across from me, tucking one leg under herself like we were about to discuss taxes or houseplants. Okay, she said. You want the truth? Fine. She didn't look sorry. I didn't plan to sleep with him, she said. I didn't even think of him that way at first. But he noticed things. He saw things you didn't. I wanted to interrupt. I wanted to say I paid for your tuition. I cooked your meals. I gave you everything so you could have this chance. But she kept going. It wasn't about love, she said. It wasn't about wanting someone else. It was about debt, gratitude. He gave me something I didn't realize I needed, and I felt like I owed him. I just stared at her. She continued, like she was reciting a lecture. It was only once, after the final module. It just happened, and it was quiet, and sad and human. And I hated myself after. But not enough to tell me I sad. She looked down then. Not ashamed. Just tired. No, she said. Not enough. After she told me, I didn't say much. I think she expected a fight. Expected rage or accusation or something cathartic that would justify the relief on her face. But I just nodded and said, okay. Then I got up and washed the dishes from dinner. It wasn't because I was calm. It was because I didn't know what else to do with my hands. She watched me from the hallway. I felt it, her gaze, like humidity in the air, dense and uncomfortable. Then the bedroom door clicked shut behind her. That was the night I started sleeping in the office. We didn't talk much over the next few days. She moved around the house like a guest in a hotel she wasn't sure she booked. I kept to my corner, took my coffee to go, worked longer hours than necessary. We existed in parallel. Not together. Not apart. Just orbiting. But silence makes you start looking. And once you start, you see everything. The first thing I noticed was the bracelet. Gold. Thin. New. I found it in the bathroom drawer tucked behind a bottle of dry shampoo. I'd never seen it before. She wasn't the kind of person who had jewelry. Or at least, she didn't used to be. The tag was still inside the box, small, elegant print. A brand I couldn't afford. I put it back where I found it. Didn't say a word. Then there was her planner. She'd always been meticulous about writing things down. Appointments, therapy sessions, birthdays. But there were pages torn out. Not carelessly. Deliberately. Clean rips, only in the months she'd been at the training institute. I started counting them. March. April. June. Always the third week. I didn't ask. I just wrote the dates down. I know it sounds obsessive. Creepy. Even. But I wasn't looking for drama. I wasn't chasing some grand confrontation. I was trying to find the shape of the thing that had already killed us. Like studying the footprint of an animal that had already eaten you. A few nights later, she left her phone unlocked on the counter. And I looked. Not because I wanted to find more, but because part of me still hoped I was wrong about how deep it all went. I wasn't. She had a hidden album in her photo library, titled simply, Before and After. I opened it. It was photos of her face. Selfies. Dozens of them. Not the kind she used to take with me, where we'd smile too big or lean too far into the frame, laughing before the timer could go off. These were quiet. Almost clinical. In one, she's in the classroom, a whiteboard behind her, half-shadowed, eyes rimmed with exhaustion. Caption, me, before I let him in. In another, she's outside, golden hour hitting her just right. She's not smiling, not posing, just existing. Caption, me, after he broke me open. I scrolled through them, my heart beating in my ears. There were no photos of him. Not directly. But he was everywhere, in the framing, the expressions, the transformation she thought she owed to him. I closed the album and put the phone back where I found it. That night, she asked if I wanted to talk. I told her I was tired. She nodded like she understood. But she didn't. She never asked what I'd been doing in the office, why I'd started waking up before her, why I'd stopped finishing my coffee. She didn't notice that I'd stopped checking in, stopped texting, stopped reaching. She thought we were drifting. We weren't. I was documenting. Because something else had started to gnaw at me, something quieter than jealousy, sharper than betrayal. Her affair wasn't just a mistake. It was a story she'd been telling herself. A story where I was the foundation, but he was the awakening. And the worst part? She thought I'd understand. She genuinely believed that I, of all people, would accept it. I made her dreams possible. I carried the weight, paid the bills, waited. And when she came back changed, she expected me to be grateful for the leftovers. That's when I knew this wasn't about cheating. It was about hierarchy. In her mind, he'd given her a key to some hidden part of herself. A gift so rare, so transformative, that anything she gave him in return, including her body, her loyalty, her silence was justified. She owed him everything. She owed me nothing. A week later, I got a call from her friend Lena. We hadn't spoken in almost a year. She was part of that old group my wife used to run with book club girls, the kind who drank more wine than they read, always talking about therapy and chakras and boundaries. I almost didn't answer. But something in the timing, the way the silence in our house had been pressing in tighter each night, made me pick up. "Hey," Lena said, her voice careful. I wasn't sure if I should reach out, but... Pause. "Are you okay?" I closed my eyes. That question had started to grate, like asking someone mid-fall if they're enjoying the view. "I'm fine," I said. "Okay," she said. But she didn't believe it. I ran into Daniel. That name. It landed differently when someone else said it. No context. No intimacy. Just a man. A placeholder. "He was at the conference in Chicago," she went on. "I remembered he taught at the Institute. So I said something about your wife. Just small talk." I said nothing. Let the silence widen between us. "That's when it got weird," Lena continued. He looked confused. Said, "Oh, she was in my cohort, but I haven't seen her since she withdrew." My stomach dropped. "What?" Lena's voice hardened. "He said she left the program in February. Transferred out. Never finished the full training. February. But she hadn't come home until June." "You sure that's what he said?" I asked, too quietly. "Positive." I asked again. He even remembered the day. Said she was bright, but distant. Said she'd stopped showing up after the winter break. I hung up soon after. Gave her some excuse. Something vague about needing to check on a work email. Then I sat at my desk in the dark, hands clasped in front of me like I was preparing to pray or interrogate. February. That meant she'd been living somewhere else for 4 months. Paid for by me. Covered by the tuition I'd wired in good faith. I pulled up her calendar. Scrolled back. It was all filled in. Supervision module. Mock clients. Evening reflection cohort. But it was a lie. Every entry past February was a mask. She'd been gone. Not just emotionally. Physically. I didn't ask where she'd been. I found out. There was a charge on our shared card from early March. A boutique hotel in Vermont. I checked the dates against her calendar. That weekend, she told me she was presenting on adolescent trauma. Had even asked me to proofread her PowerPoint slides. I called the hotel. Told them I'd left something in the room and needed confirmation. Gave them her name. They read it back to me without hesitation. Yes, she was here for 3 nights in March. And April. And again in May. Always the same room. The same room. I thanked them and hung up. Then sat there, shaking. It wasn't the affair anymore. It wasn't about Daniel. It was the fact that she had been building a new life while I thought we were on pause. And she'd let me keep believing it. Sent me photos of textbooks, snapshots of campus walkways, even selfies in lecture halls, probably taken months before. All staged. All constructed to keep me blind. That's when I remembered the text she sent me in May. "Miss you. Almost done. Can't wait to come home and start our next chapter." She'd sent that from Vermont. I didn't ask her about it that night. Or the next. I watched her instead. Studied her like a stranger. Noticed the way she still played the role of a woman coming back from something hard. She leaned into the fatigue, the professional jargon, the spiritual reflection. But now I knew. She hadn't come back. She'd never left the life she started in February. She'd just found a way to merge it into mine. And I wasn't angry anymore. I was studying the wreckage. Charting it. Because one question started to burn in my chest, hotter than anything else. Who was she with in Vermont? Because it wasn't Daniel. I knew that now. Which meant there was someone else. The second man's name was Greg. I found him the way you find a toothache. A dull ache at first, then sharper every time you press in the right place. I started with the receipts. The Vermont hotel used a points-based reservation system. I called the customer service line, told them I wanted to match a stay with another guest in the same room on a different date. Some story about rebooking a couple's trip. The woman on the line was too tired to care. I have a Gregory Bishop for the March 10th to 13th stay, she said. Would you like me to connect you to the rewards concierge? I hung up. Gregory Bishop. It took all of 20 minutes to find him online. Not faculty, not a professor, not even part of the institute. He was a life integration coach. That's what his website said. Vague language and overexposed headshots. Arms folded, ocean behind him, smile that felt like it had too many teeth. The kind of man who called himself a healer but charged by the hour. And somewhere between the chakras and the testimonials was a single line that punched the air out of me. Guest speaker for the Holbrook Renewal Residency Series, Winter Cohort. Her cohort. He wasn't a teacher. He was a guest. A 3-week program designed to help students transition out of limiting self-narratives. I searched his name alongside hers. Nothing. Then I searched her name in the browser history of her old iPad. That thing she thought I never used. And there it was. Gregory Bishop plus retreat plus pregnancy. Pregnancy. The word blurred. I clicked through. It was a link to a Reddit thread, of all places. Someone asking about a man named Gregory Bishop. The replies were peppered with warning signs. He had an affair with a married student I knew. He's manipulative, tells women they're stuck in a masculine frame to get close. My cousin came back from a residency with a broken marriage and a therapist she wouldn't stop quoting. I read them all. Then I sat on the floor and stared at the carpet, my hands gripping the edge of the couch like it was the only thing keeping me upright. I thought it had been one mistake. One man. One moment. Something that could be grieved and filed away and maybe, eventually, forgiven. But it wasn't. She hadn't betrayed me with someone who knew her. She'd betrayed me with someone who studied her, who designed his whole persona around finding the cracks in women like her. Tired, burned out, still trying to feel like they mattered. And worse, she gave herself to him willingly, repeatedly, consistently. There were bank transfers. I checked. Small ones spread out. $220, $430, $1,100. Not tuition. Private sessions. Unlicensed. Uninsured. Intimate. I confronted her the next morning. It was early. The kind of early where the house was still wrapped in that blue-gray quiet. She was standing at the kitchen window, drinking tea, her shoulders bare in a loose shirt that had once been mine. "Who's Greg?" I asked. She turned slowly, blinked once. The mug didn't tremble in her hand. "What?" I said. I repeated, "Who is Gregory Bishop?" "The life coach you spent March through May with in Vermont. The one you paid for. The one you looked up on your iPad with the word pregnancy beside his name." She didn't speak for a long time. Then, without putting the mug down, she said, "It wasn't like that." I laughed. One sharp breath through my nose. "You're going to insult me again with that line?" She finally set the mug down. Carefully, like it might break the floor. "I thought I was done," she said. "After Daniel. I thought I was going to come home and fix things with you. But I couldn't. Couldn't. Or wouldn't." Her eyes flicked to mine. That was the first time she looked scared. "He told me," she whispered, "that I'd been living someone else's life." I stared at her. "And you believed him?" She didn't answer. Not directly. "He said I was performing," she continued, as if she were reading from a journal. "Being a wife because I thought I was supposed to be. That I'd never actually chosen it for myself." "Did you?" That stopped her. For a moment, she looked almost small. "I don't know," she said. "I don't know if I ever did." We stood in that kitchen surrounded by 10 years of shared objects. Blender, magnet calendars, chipped mug from our first road trip, and she looked at me like I was a stranger breaking into her home. "I gave you everything," I said. Quietly. Steady. Not because I wanted you to owe me, but because I believed you were still in here. Somewhere. Trying. Fighting. I thought you were hurting. Not gone. She covered her face with her hands. Not crying. Just hiding. I didn't want to hurt you, she said. Voice muffled. I nodded. Then why did you take so much time doing it? She didn't answer. Didn't apologize. Just stood there, breathing through her fingers like she was trying to disappear. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't break anything. But something in me snapped anyway. Because what I realized, standing there, was that she hadn't cheated on me. She had outgrown me. Not like a person grows into something better, but like a snake shedding its skin. Quiet. Incremental. I was just the old layer. The dry husk. She told me it wasn't about love, then made sure to give her body to two men who weren't me. She said it was about gratitude, then left me with debt. And somewhere out there, I had no idea if Gregory Bishop had left her behind like he did the others, or if he'd stayed just long enough to dismantle her story. But I knew one thing now. She didn't leave the training program because she was lost. She left it because she'd already found what she was looking for. And it wasn't me. I didn't tell her to leave right away. It would have been easier, cleaner. But something in me wanted her to sit in it a little longer. Not the affair, not even the lies. Just the quiet realization that I wasn't playing along anymore. The day after I confronted her, she asked if we could talk. I told her no. I wasn't angry. I was finished. I slept in the office. I worked. I came home late. I stopped asking her what she needed from the store. Stopped setting her side of the blanket in the dryer before bed like I used to. All those small, invisible things that made this feel like a partnership, gone. She tried for a while. Started cooking dinner again. Left a book on my desk she thought I'd like. Slid a note into my bag one morning that said, I never stopped caring. But I didn't respond. Because by then, I knew something she didn't. You can't repair what was never truly shared. She built a story in which she was the victim of her own awakening, where the men she gave herself to weren't lovers. They were catalysts. She used that word once. Like she was the one set on fire, and everyone else was just collateral. It was 2 weeks later when I finally asked her to leave. No yelling. No bags thrown into the yard. Just a line across the table. I don't think I ever mattered to you as much as the idea of being seen by someone else. She didn't deny it. She just asked where she was supposed to go. And I said, anywhere you want. That's what you've always done. She moved out on a Wednesday. Same kind of weather as the day I found the letter. Gray skies, soft rain, like the house was trying to wash itself clean. She packed fast. Or maybe she'd never really unpacked. She left a note. Not a goodbye. Just a quote. Something one of her coaches must have said. Healing isn't linear. Some steps look like mistakes. I didn't keep it. I didn't need to. She reached out a month later. A long email filled with language she must have copied from a self-help workbook. Words like expansion and selfhood and grief. She said she hoped I was doing okay. That she understood if I hated her. That she didn't expect forgiveness, but hoped for compassion. I didn't reply. Not because I wanted to punish her, but because I finally understood. She wasn't asking to be forgiven. She was asking to be understood. And that was the heart of it, wasn't it? She wanted someone to validate her pain, her choices, her shedding of the life we built. She didn't want a husband. She wanted a mirror. And I had stopped reflecting what she needed. The silence that followed was the most peaceful part of it all. I kept the house. Changed nothing. Same furniture. Same dishes. Same light bulbs that flickered in the hallway. I let it all stay exactly as it was. Because now, when people visit, I want them to see it. I want them to step into the space and feel that something is missing. Not just a person, but the illusion she wove around us both. I still have the letter. The first one. The one I found in her drawer. It's in a box in the closet now. Not because I need to reread it, but because every so often, I like to remind myself how careful betrayal can be. It doesn't always look like passion. Sometimes it looks like gratitude. And that kind of betrayal cuts deeper, because it means you were never hated. You were loved less. Thanks for watching. If this story pulled you in, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss the next confession. Until next time, take care and watch who you trust.